Left to raise two young sons after the unexpected death of his wife, one dad's life begins to unravel when an unwanted house guest begins taunting him from the shadows in the new film, The Thing with Feathers. With me now is the writer and director Dylan Southern. Dylan, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. A little bit jet lagged, but coping.
Well, good, good. Now, to start off, this film is adapted from Max Porter's book, Grief is the Thing with Feathers. What inspired you to bring this film to the big screen?
I think I liked the challenge of it. I read the book 10 years ago now, pretty much the week it came out, and I'd never read anything that dealt with the subjects of grief in quite the way that this did. It was incredibly moving, but it was also not sentimental. It had moments of humor, moments of sort of violence. It just felt like my own personal experiences of grief. And I think it highlighted that perhaps I hadn't dealt with my own grief in ways that were healthy. And I think the other thing is it doesn't seem obvious that you would be able to adapt it to the screen because it's written partly in prose and partly in poetry. It's from different perspectives. But within it, there's this vein of like visual ideas and things that you could extrapolate on, and just the sort of film fan in me could just see this film visually. And from there, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And I managed to sort of get myself in front of Max Porter, who wrote the book, and persuade him to give me the rights. And yeah, that started the journey to now, I guess.
Mhm. Well, it's a very well done film, a great topic, especially because unfortunately everybody does have griefs at some point in their life. Now, taking on the lead role of dad in this film, we have the amazingly talented Benedict Cumberbatch. What led to him becoming part of this project and taking on that role?
Good fortune, really. I mean, I was making a tiny little indie film with a very low budget and had no expectations of getting a cast member, a leading man who had the type of career and has of his caliber as an actor. But I'd either read or I'd heard that he was a huge fan of the original novel that it's based on. So I thought I'll take a punt and sent him the scripts, expecting to wait, a few months to get a very polite, like the script, but not for me. But it was 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks, I heard from him. He wanted to meet me and talk about it, and we met, and we got on so well from that first meeting, and chatted about the book, chatted about the script, chatted about things that were completely unrelated. And by the time, he said yes to doing it, which I couldn't believe, and I had been sort of nervous, how am I going to direct, as a first time filmmaker, how am I going to direct an actor who's been directed by Jane Campion or who's been on these huge Marvel sets and, has played Shakespeare, has done Shakespeare on stage. But just our friendship grew, and by the time we got to set, it was just a real creative collaboration. We were making the film together, and he taught me a lot, and eased me into that kind of first time filmmaking.
Mhm. That's awesome. Now, like you mentioned earlier, there's kind of different perspectives we get from this story. What is the importance of showing the boy's side of grief within the film?
For me, it's one of the most important aspects of the film because I think this is a film about male grief, and I don't think in society we talk about that enough. Or maybe things are getting better now, but certainly when I was growing up, you didn't have outlets for your emotions, and you're expected to just get on with them. And I think a lot of this film is about a man carrying his grief in an unhealthy way. And I think that shift in perspective to the boys who deal with their grief in the way that kids do. They're resilient. They use their imaginations. They play games. Yeah, and it's a way of looking at a more natural and a more healthy way of dealing with grief. And I think Crow, the character who comes into the house, his job there is to kind of point that in that direction to say, look at these boys, look at how beautiful they are, look at how resilient they are, look at and you created them, and through acts of creation are kind of love, and love is grief is just love with nowhere to go. So I think the boys' perspective is the bit that kind of really gets the audience. In every screening I've been in, you can audibly hear sobs, and I think that shift in perspective is needed at that point in the film because you've gone so far with dad that now you need to see what this time looks like through more innocent eyes. And yeah, I'm really proud of the performances that those two boys, Richard and Henry, give. They'd never
Mhm.
acted before, and through some alchemy, we managed to get these incredible performances out of two kids who'd never been on a set before. And yeah, I really love those boys.
Wow. Well, it sounds like they have promising careers because that they did very well for their first performance. That's for sure.
They really,
Dylan, thank you so much for talking with me today. The Thing with Feathers hits theaters November 28th.
thank you.